Amara loves eating out and avoids cooking at all costs, despite her roommate's constant warnings. But her carefree habit takes a dark turn when she stumbles into the kitchen of her favorite restaurant and witnesses a shocking, unspeakable act by the cook. Filthy surroundings, and a horrifying secret about the food leave her shaken to her core. Will she expose the restaurant's disturbing practices, or will the truth remain hidden? This gripping tale will keep you on the edge of your seat and make you think twice about your next meal. Amara adjusted the strap of her handbag as she made her way to the counter of a bustling restaurant downtown. The tantalizing aroma of spiced jollof rice and freshly fried plantains filled the air. She smiled, scanning the menu on the wall. It was her favorite part of the day, choosing what delicious dish she would indulge in. Cooking was an art she had long abandoned, or rather, never cared to learn. Why bother when affordable, mouth-watering meals were just a few steps away? Her best friend and roommate, Chica, never understood her obsession with eating out. Chica was a culinary wizard who spent hours in the kitchen, whipping up dishes that looked like they belonged in food magazines. Amara, you need to learn how to cook, Chica would say, her tone a mix of concern and exasperation. What if you end up eating something bad one day? But Amara would always laugh it off, teasing her friend for being a worrywart. Amara's upbringing had shaped her views on food. Her mother, a high-powered lawyer, barely had time to cook, and her father was indifferent to home-cooked meals. Takeout had been their family's lifeline, and Amara saw no reason to change that now. Eating out is efficient, she often said, waving off Chica's warnings. To Amara, cooking was a waste of time, a messy, sweaty chore she had no intention of enduring. Amara returned home with a takeout box in hand, her face glowing with satisfaction. The smell of fried rice and grilled chicken wafted through the apartment as she set the box on the dining table. Chica emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel, her expression souring at the sight of yet another restaurant meal. You bought food again? Chica asked, raising an eyebrow. How many times do I have to tell you? These restaurants don't care about hygiene. Do you even know what goes on in their kitchens? Amara rolled her eyes and opened her box, releasing an even stronger aroma. Here we go again, she muttered, picking up a fork. Chica, it's food, not a conspiracy. I've never gotten sick from eating out, and I've been doing this my whole life. Relax. Chica leaned on the counter, crossing her arms. You think it's about luck? Let me tell you something my aunt once said. She worked in a restaurant for years, and the things she saw, her voice trailed off as she shook her head in disgust. Some places reuse leftover food. Others don't even bother washing their ingredients properly. And you just trust them blindly? Amara smirked. Your aunt must have worked in a shady joint. Not all restaurants are like that. Besides, you're acting like every bite I take is a death sentence. She stabbed a piece of chicken with her fork and popped it into her mouth, savoring the flavor. Chica sighed, her voice softening. Amara, I'm not trying to control you. I'm just saying, be careful. Not all that glitters is gold. But Amara was already lost in her meal, her roommate's words slipping past her like water off a duck's back. One day, as Amara scrolled through her phone during her lunch break, a headline caught her eye: Grand opening of Delightful Bites, your new favorite spot for authentic African cuisine. The accompanying photos showcased a warm, inviting space with colorful decor and a menu filled with mouth-watering options. The reviews were glowing, with customers raving about the unique taste of the food. Amara's interest was piqued. She'd tried nearly every restaurant in her neighborhood, and the prospect of a new one excited her. She sent the link to Chica, adding a message, dinner tonight. My treat. Chica's response was immediate, no thanks. I'll stick to my own cooking. Amara shrugged and decided to go alone. When she arrived, she was impressed by the restaurant's charm. The walls were adorned with vibrant African artwork, and the scent of freshly cooked food filled the air. She was greeted by a middle-aged woman with a wide smile, her hair tied back in a neat bun. "Welcome to Delightful Bites. I'm Madam Joy, the chef and owner," the woman said warmly. Amara ordered a plate of egusi soup with pounded yam, and as she took her first bite, her taste buds exploded with delight. The flavors were rich and complex, unlike anything she had tasted before. By the time she finished her meal, she was convinced she had found her new favorite spot. That night, she raved about the experience to Chica, who merely frowned and shook her head. "Be careful," Chica said again. "Not every smile is genuine." Amara became an instant regular at Delightful Bites. It wasn't just the food, it was the atmosphere, the warm lighting, and the attentive staff that made every visit feel special. Madam Joy, always clad in her spotless apron, had a way of making her customers feel at home. She would come out to greet diners personally, her cheerful laugh filling the room as she bantered with patrons. "You're back again, my dear," Madam Joy said one evening as she approached Amara's table. "You must really love my cooking." Amara grinned, wiping her hands on a napkin. "You've got magic in your hands, Madam Joy. I've never tasted food this good in my life." The older woman chuckled, her eyes twinkling. "Oh, it's all in the family recipe. Passed down from generation to generation. It's what makes our meals unforgettable." There was something cryptic about the way she said it, but Amara didn't dwell on it. To her, Madam Joy was simply a passionate chef who had mastered her craft. As the weeks went by, Amara noticed that she wasn't the only one enchanted by the restaurant. Customers flocked to Delightful Bites, filling every table during lunch and dinner hours. Everyone seemed to leave with a satisfied smile, singing the praises of the magic touch behind the meals. "See? This place is legit," Amara told Chica one evening when she got home. "You should really try it. Madam Joy is amazing." Chica raised an eyebrow, her skepticism unwavering. "I'll pass. I've seen too many amazing places turn out to be nightmares." "Just be careful, Amara. Please." Amara waved her off, laughing. "You worry too much." Before long, Delightful Bites wasn't just a favorite, it became an addiction. Amara found herself eating there almost daily, sometimes even twice a day. She couldn't get enough of Madam Joy's food. The spices, the textures, the unmistakable richness, it was unlike anything she could replicate at home, even if she tried. Chica began to notice the shift in her roommate's behavior. "Amara, don't you think you're overdoing it? Eating out every single day. That can't be good for your health." "I'm fine, Chica," Amara replied defensively, stuffing a forkful of rice into her mouth. "Why does it bother you so much?" "It's my money, my choice." Chica sighed, her frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "It's not about the money. I'm worried about what you're putting into your body. You don't even know what they're using in that food." Amara shrugged. "Whatever it is, it's delicious." But Chica wasn't convinced. One evening, she decided to accompany Amara to Delightful Bites, hoping to see for herself what the hype was all about. When Chica walked into Delightful Bites for the first time, she couldn't deny its charm. The decor was tasteful, the staff polite, and the air was filled with the rich aroma of freshly cooked meals. But something felt off. As they sat down, Chica overheard a conversation at a nearby table. "This food is just unbelievable," a woman said, her eyes wide with wonder. "I don't know what she puts in it, but I can't stop coming back. It's like a spell." Another man chimed in, nodding fervently. "I've tried to cook at home, but nothing tastes the same." It's almost like I need to eat here. Chika glanced at Amara, who was busy devouring her plate of egusi soup. The compliments didn't sound normal, they sounded almost obsessive. Chika leaned closer. Do you hear what they're saying? Doesn't that sound weird to you? Amara looked up briefly, her expression indifferent. They are just foodies, Chika. You're reading too much into it. But Chika couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. As they left the restaurant, she couldn't help but glance back at the cheerful facade of Delightful Bites. There was a shadow in its warmth, one she was determined to uncover. Chika couldn't stop thinking about the strange compliments she had heard at Delightful Bites. Determined to get to the bottom of it, she started observing the restaurant more closely. The next time she accompanied Amara, she paid attention to details most customers would overlook. The first thing she noticed was the staff. They were unusually quiet, avoiding eye contact with customers and even with one another. It was as if they were afraid of something or someone. Then there was the smell. Beneath the delicious aroma of food, Chika caught a faint but distinct odor, something sour and metallic. She wrinkled her nose, but when she mentioned it to Amara, her roommate just waved it off. It's a kitchen, Chika, Amara said, rolling her eyes. There are bound to be weird smells. Chika wasn't convinced. She tried to peek into the kitchen, but the door was always closed, with a small sign that read, "Staff only, strictly no entry." Every time she walked past it, she felt a chill run down her spine. That evening, back at their apartment, Chika confronted Amara. You need to stop going there. Something isn't right about that place. The staff looked terrified, and there's a smell coming from the kitchen that doesn't belong in a restaurant. Amara sighed, exasperated. Chika, you're being paranoid. Just because you don't like eating out doesn't mean everyone else has to stop. Chika's face hardened. You'll regret ignoring me one day. Mark my words. The next time Amara visited Delightful Bites, she arrived during a quiet hour, hoping to beat the dinner rush. She ordered her usual and sat down near the back of the restaurant, scrolling through her phone while waiting for her meal. That was when she heard it, a loud, heated argument coming from the kitchen. You can't keep doing this, the man's voice shouted. It's wrong. Lower your voice. Madam Joy hissed. Do you want everyone to hear? Just do your job and keep your mouth shut. The argument ended abruptly, followed by the sound of something heavy being slammed onto a counter. Amara froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. She glanced around the restaurant, but no one else seemed to have noticed. When Madame Joy emerged from the kitchen moments later, she was all smiles, carrying a tray of food to a nearby table. But there was something in her eyes, something cold and calculating, that sent a shiver down Amara's spine. For the first time, Amara felt uneasy about her favorite restaurant. But she pushed the feeling aside, telling herself that whatever happened in the kitchen was none of her business. That night, Chika was waiting for Amara when she got home. She was sitting on the couch, arms crossed, her face stern. We need to talk, she said. Amara sighed, dropping her bag onto the floor. What now, Chika? This obsession with eating out has to stop, Chika said, her voice firm. I'm serious, Amara. You don't know what you're exposing yourself to. I've heard too many horror stories about restaurants cutting corners and doing unspeakable things in their kitchens. Amara rolled her eyes. Not this again. Look, I'm fine. Nothing has happened to me, and nothing will. Can we please drop this? No, we can't, Chika said, standing up. I'm giving you an ultimatum. Either you start learning to cook, or you stop eating out completely. I'm not going to sit here and watch you ruin your health, or worse. Amara stared at her, stunned. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious, Chica replied. If you don't care about yourself, at least care about the people who love you. Amara clenched her fists, anger bubbling inside her. You don't get to tell me how to live my life, Chica. Just because you're obsessed with cooking doesn't mean I have to be. Without another word, Amara stormed into her room, slamming the door behind her. But as she lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, Chica's words echoed in her mind. It was well past midnight when Amara realized she had left her phone at Delightful Bites. She had been in such a hurry earlier that she hadn't noticed it slipping from her purse and onto the table. Determined to retrieve it, she put on her coat and headed out into the cool night air. The streets were quiet, and the city lights flickered in the distance as Amara made her way to the restaurant. When she arrived, the restaurant was closed, but the kitchen lights were still on. She hesitated for a moment, wondering if she should just wait until morning, but the thought of her phone in the restaurant nagged at her. Cautiously, she approached the back of the building. The kitchen window, usually covered by blinds, was partially open. As she peered through, she could make out shadows moving inside. Her curiosity got the better of her, and she quietly approached the door, which, surprisingly, was unlocked. Amara crept into the back hallway and pushed the door slightly open, making sure she didn't make a sound. She slipped inside, her heart racing. She had never been behind the scenes in a restaurant before, and she wasn't sure what she was expecting to find. But what she did find would haunt her forever. The kitchen was lit by overhead fluorescent lights that buzzed faintly. Madame Joy stood at the counter, preparing something that looked like the base for a soup. The disturbing part was the bowl she was using. It was filled with murky, yellowish water, the kind that could easily be mistaken for dirty bathwater. Amara watched in horror as Madame Joy used the water to rinse her hands before continuing to chop vegetables for the meal. Amara's stomach churned, and her breath caught in her throat. She didn't want to believe what she was seeing, but the truth was undeniable. The water was not just any water, it was the same water Amara had seen Madame Joy use earlier in the night to wash her private parts in the back of the restaurant. Amara stumbled back, her heart pounding in her chest. She turned to leave, but her foot caught on something, sending a tin can clattering to the floor. Madame Joy whipped around, her face instantly hardening when she saw Amara. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. Amara froze, her body trembling. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." Before she could finish, Madame Joy stepped toward her, her expression dark and unyielding. "You should leave, before you get yourself in trouble," she said, her voice cold as ice. Amara didn't wait to hear another word. She backed away quickly, heart racing as she dashed out of the restaurant, her breath coming in sharp gasps. The next day, Amara couldn't stop thinking about what she had seen in the kitchen. The image of Madame Joy using that water kept replaying in her mind, the sickening realization that she had been eating food prepared with the same water. It made her stomach turn just thinking about it. As she walked into Delightful Bites that afternoon, she noticed something different. There was an eerie stillness in the air. The usual chatter of customers was absent, and a quiet tension hung in the space. The waitstaff looked unusually grim, whispering to one another in hushed tones. "Where's Sarah?" Amara asked one of the waitresses, referring to the young woman who had always served her meals. The waitress glanced at her nervously, then lowered her voice. She left. Didn't say where. Just packed up and quit last night." Amara's stomach churned. The waitress's face was pale, her eyes darting around as though afraid to say more. "But she'd been working here for months," Amara pressed, trying to get more information. "Why would she just leave?" "I don't know," the waitress replied, shaking her head. "But you didn't hear it from me, all right? Just stay away from this place. It's not what you think." Amara's heart skipped a beat. The warning was clear, and it made her skin crawl. She had already seen enough to make her question everything, but hearing that Sarah had left suddenly made it all the more real. As the days passed, Amara's unease grew. She tried to push the thoughts of the kitchen from her mind, but they haunted her every time she passed Delightful Bites. She couldn't shake the image of Madame Joy, her hands soaked in that filthy water, preparing the food she had consumed with relish. Then, one evening, during a conversation with Madame Joy, Amara caught a chilling slip of the tongue. "Do you know the secret behind my cooking?" Madame Joy asked, her smile warm and inviting. "It's all in the water. The special cleansing water I use to prepare everything. It brings out the flavor like nothing else." Amara froze, her fork suspended in midair. She had heard the term before, the cleansing water that Madame Joy mentioned, but she hadn't fully understood its significance until now. It was the same water. Her hands trembled as she set the fork down. "What exactly do you mean by cleansing water?" Madame Joy smiled, as if she hadn't just made a damning confession. "Oh, nothing. Just a little family secret. It's what makes my dishes so unforgettable. Don't worry about it. You wouldn't understand." Amara's mind raced, the pieces of the puzzle slowly coming together. The water she had seen Madame Joy use, it wasn't some special ingredient as the chef claimed. It was the same water that had been used for unspeakable purposes. And now, it was the very thing that had been mixed into the food she'd so eagerly devoured. Amara could no longer deny the truth. The more she thought about it, the more disgusted she became with herself for ever stepping foot in Delightful Bites. The very thought of the food she had eagerly consumed now made her stomach twist in knots. She had been duped, fed something so vile and sinister, and had done nothing about it until now. That evening, she found herself sitting across from Chica at their kitchen table, her hands gripping her coffee cup so tightly her knuckles were white. She couldn't keep it to herself any longer. "Chica," she said, her voice low, trembling with the weight of what she was about to reveal. "You were right. You were right about everything." Chica looked up from her book, sensing the gravity of her friend's tone. "What's going on?" Amara's breath caught in her throat. She felt a strange mix of shame and anger. I've been eating food made with dirty water. The same water that," she choked on her words, unable to say it out loud. Chica's eyes widened in shock. "What? How do you know this?" "I saw it. I saw her use it in the kitchen. Madame Joy, the owner of Delightful Bites, she's been using that same water to wash her private parts, then using it to cook. She does it every day." Amara's voice cracked, the horror of her own words sinking in. Chica's face went pale as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. "I knew something was wrong with that place," she said softly. "You need to report this, Amara. This is serious." Amara shook her head, her eyes welling with tears. "But no one will believe me. What if they accuse me of lying? I don't even know if anyone else has noticed. I should have listened to you, Chica. I should have stopped going there." Chica stood up, her expression hardening with determination. "We'll make them listen. We can go to the health department. Someone has to shut that place down before anyone else gets hurt." The following day, Amara and Chica made a plan. They knew they couldn't just go to the authorities without proof. No one would believe such an outrageous claim without solid evidence. Amara was nervous but determined. They had to put an end to this. Chica took charge, her mind sharp as she began researching the best way to gather evidence without raising suspicion. Amara had an idea. She could go back to Delightful Bites, pretend to be a regular customer, and try to find more concrete proof. But this time, she would bring a hidden camera. It felt like an invasion of privacy, but Amara couldn't ignore the urgency of the situation. She needed to make sure that the truth came out. That night, Amara returned to the restaurant, pretending nothing had changed. She ordered her usual meal and sat quietly, observing the staff. Madame Joy was at the counter, overseeing the kitchen with her usual air of control. But this time, Amara kept her phone close, recording as discreetly as possible. As the hours passed, she grew more and more anxious. She couldn't help but glance at the kitchen door, wondering if she would see anything else that would confirm her suspicions. Then, as the kitchen door swung open, Amara's heart stopped. Through the small crack in the door, she saw Madame Joy preparing food, her hands submerged in a bowl of murky water. The same water. The unmistakable, foul-smelling water. Amara's breath caught in her throat as she quickly stopped the recording. Her hands shook, but she knew they had what they needed. It was time to end this nightmare. Armed with the damning footage, Amara and Chica marched to the health department the next morning. They handed over the video, the evidence of the unspeakable practices taking place behind the walls of Delightful Bites. The officials were horrified, their faces turning pale as they watched the video. "This is absolutely disgusting," one of them muttered. "We'll send a team to investigate immediately." Chica and Amara sat nervously as the officials took the necessary steps to investigate the restaurant. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty as the authorities conducted their inquiry. The entire time, Amara couldn't shake the image of the dirty water and Madame Joy's chilling smile. Then, a week later, news broke: Delightful Bites had been shut down. The restaurant was under investigation for health violations, and authorities had seized all the food and ingredients for testing. Madame Joy was arrested, her reputation tarnished beyond repair. Amara felt a strange mix of relief and guilt. She had done the right thing, but she couldn't forget the taste of the food she had once loved, the food that had been laced with such unspeakable horror. In the weeks that followed, Amara's life slowly began to return to normal. She stopped eating out entirely, and Chica helped her learn to cook. It wasn't easy at first, but with each meal, Amara felt a sense of accomplishment. Slowly, she began to enjoy the process of preparing her own food, realizing just how much satisfaction could come from knowing exactly what went into every dish. As for Delightful Bites, it never reopened. The building was sold off, and the scandal surrounding Madame Joy's restaurant became a cautionary tale for many. The community was shaken by the truth, but Amara's actions had spared others from unknowingly consuming the same horrors she had. In time, Amara made peace with the mistake she had made. She learned to trust her instincts and, above all, to listen when people, like Chica, warned her of dangers she couldn't yet see. It wasn't just about food anymore. It was about knowing what you were putting into your body, and more importantly, knowing where it came from. Months passed, and Amara became more and more confident in her cooking skills. She was no longer dependent on takeout or restaurants, and had even started hosting small gatherings for friends and family at their apartment. Chica often stayed to help her with meal prep, and Amara began to experiment with African dishes she had never tried before: suya, jollof rice, egusi soup, and even plantains, all made from scratch. One afternoon, as Amara started, the doorbell ring. She wiped her hands on a towel and opened the door to find a delivery person holding a small package. "Is this for me?" she asked, taking the package and noticing it was from an online cookbook company she had ordered from a few weeks ago. Excitedly, she opened the package to find a new recipe book, a compilation of African and international dishes. There was a note attached that made her smile. "Dear Amara, thank you for ordering. Your courage to leave unhealthy habits behind and embrace your own culinary journey is truly inspiring. Keep cooking, and remember that food is not just about nourishment, but about love and culture too." Tears filled her eyes as she read the message, a feeling of accomplishment and peace washing over her. The journey had been difficult, but it had led her here, moment, where she was in control of what she ate and what she served others. She looked over at Chica, who was browsing through the cookbook with a grin on her face. "This is just the beginning," Amara said softly, her voice full of hope. "I think I am ready to take this further." Chica raised an eyebrow. "Take what further?" Amara smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "Maybe even start a food blog. Show people how easy and fun cooking can be. And share the stories of everything I've learned." Chica nodded enthusiastically. "I love it. And I'll be your #1 fan." Amara's journey had come full circle. She had gone from a woman who relied on takeout to someone who cherished the art of cooking. She had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, with a new purpose in her heart. And she knew that this time, no one would ever make her doubt the importance of what went into her body. It was the start of a new beginning, not just for Amara, but for everyone who needed to hear her story. The story of why you must never eat in anyhow restaurants, and how one woman's courage could spark change. The moral lesson from this story teaches the importance of prioritizing food hygiene, being cautious about where you eat, and taking responsibility for your well-being by learning self-reliance, such as cooking. It also emphasizes listening to good advice and taking action against unethical practices to protect yourself and others. Thank you for listening to this story. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe and leave a comment on how you enjoy this story, for it encourages me to keep sharing more stories. Bye.